Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today we are making my mid-year setup, and of course that means that we have to start a brand new journal. The one that I'm going to use for the later half of 2025 is this beautiful Tifosi A5 Embrace the Light dot grid notebook in the color navy. It has this incredible gold embossing, a pen holder on the side and a back pocket, and it contains 190 pages with 160 GSM paper, which is the thickness that I like more in my journals. We have the company of my cat Safira here on the top. You can see her tail moving around, and she's giving me some help while I struggle with the bend of the notebook. And so for the theme of this setup, I wanted it to match the cover of the journal, and I was debating on using blue with gold or silver. And in the end I chose silver because first, it went well with the theme that I chose, and I had more stationery in this theme in silver. Besides, I make themes with gold all the time, so I chose differently this time. And the theme that I chose is Dark Fairytale. We are jumping right to the cover page, and I skipped the name page because we're going to do that in the end of this setup. So I had these gothic windows that were the main inspiration for this theme, and these blue branches, both I got in my recent journal sale haul if you want to check it out later. And to complement this, I'm also using these frames. If you watch my videos often, you know by now that my comfort zone is doing collages. I love drawing and making themes that have to be drawn, but I just love playing around with different stationery and themes and see what works and what doesn't. So usually for my initial setups in my journals, I tend to do collages, and of course, this one is not an exception. I wanted the window to be on the center of the page because it's the focal point, and then I put two branches, one behind the window and the other on the front, to give the illusion that the branches are wrapping around the window. Then I just put some frames and this washi tape that has some astrology elements in silver. It's kind of neutral and perfect to balance things out. To fill in the empty spaces, I'm going to use three sticker sheets. First, this one has some deep blue florals, then this other one has some blue glitter designs with flowers, moons, and also some butterflies. And last, we have another one that is not a sticker sheet because you have to cut around the design that you want and then take the back part off and stick it to the page. So now let's take a moment to appreciate this transition that I found that has some fairy dust, let's say that, which, come on, fairy tale theme, it's just so fitting. But continue on for the font that I'm going to use throughout the setup. This one I found on the font website. It's the Cardinal font, I think. I'll link it down below along with all the materials that I'm using as usual. I wanted a font that would look great with the whole fairy tale theme, and when I was searching, I found this one that I just loved. It's not that difficult to recreate, it just takes some time. This setup was by far the longest setup I had to do. It took me around 4 hours to complete, but I'm really proud of this one. For the main titles, I'm using the Pentel brush sign pen in the color blue black, which matches perfectly with the leaves. And for the other titles that are not like the main ones, I'm using the metallic Ohuhu journal pen in silver with this very loose font, and also a blue glitter pen later. Let's move on to the next spread, and this one is going to be a quote page on the left and an index on the right. I usually do my quote page next to the cover page, but this time I wanted to do an index because the pages are numbered and I never did an index before, so let's do one. And since I didn't have anything to put next to it, I decided to move the quote page from the front to here. And I think it makes the cover page pop a lot more because it's the only thing you're seeing. For the quote page, I cut a window in half because these windows are quite big, and to be different from the cover page, I wanted the quote to be the focus and not the window. So I put both halves on each side, one more on the top and the other on the bottom, and decorated just like I did before. For the quote, I chose this one, "Fight for your own fairy tale," which is fitting to this whole dark fairy tale theme because I didn't want the quote to be cutesy, because normally that's what you think of a fairy tale. You think of princesses and princes, dragons, and all these magic worlds, but this one I wanted to be dark, the villain side of the story, let's say that, which honestly I usually like the villains better. For the index, I wanted it to be simple to use, and I know that I'm probably just going to use this space and will not need more, because when I'm going to start the monthly setups, I'm just going to write, for example, August page whatever, September page whatever, and so on and so forth, because I'm basically just writing the main things, not the whole calendar and task list and whatever, so this space it's fine. To decorate, I did a rectangle with these wavy lines, and I'm cutting bits of the branch stickers to build this frame all around. And it took me a while, but I love the final result. Let's move on to the future log. This is basically a year at a glance, or in this case, half of the year, with a space to write events, birthdays, holidays, or other things that will happen in the future. This is incredibly useful because I do my monthly setups the month before each one. So for example, if I'm doing my setup for June, I don't have a space to write an appointment that will happen in August. So I'm going to write that appointment in this spread. Also, I use my phone calendar to keep me on track with things like that because sometimes I write on the phone, but I forgot to put it in the bullet journal and vice versa. So in this spread, I divided in 6 sections, one for each month of 2025, and to put the calendar, I cut around the blue frames because they were a little bigger than the space that I had, and I wanted a little space above each calendar to do the month. So these frames are going to be the base where I'm going to put these mini calendars that I printed on sticker paper. As I said, I'm writing the month above each calendar with the blue glitter pen that I mentioned earlier. Unfortunately, I bought these pens years ago from a local store, so I don't have a link for you, but I'm pretty sure that you can find pens like these anywhere on Journal Say or Stationery Pal. Now it's time for Cindy to show up, and we are now decorating each side of the title. Honestly, these decorations are pretty much go with the flow. I knew that I had to use a little bit of everything except the windows because those are big for these tiny spaces, so they are just for spreads that have enough space for them. Next is a similar page to this one. This is my year at a glance. I'm just going to do the first 6 months of 2026 and I'm only writing the calendar for each month. I'm not leaving any space to write notes, but if I have anything important that I want to remember, I'm just going to put a little dot on the day and I'm writing that thing in my phone calendar. So when I flip to this page and I see a dot, I know that something is happening on that day. For the decorations, I used a square frame for each month, and inside of them I'm going to write each calendar. On the outside, I used bits of the branch stickers once again to put in between the frames to give the illusion that the branches are behind the frames. Then I just put the washi tape and decorated with the rest of the stickers. I don't need to write the days of the week, I know which days are Mondays and Sundays and so on. And I also messed up the last week of January. I wrote 26 two times, so I just put a little bit of correction tape on top and wrote again. On the right page is my goals. I divided the page in 4 sections. One is for my career goals, the other is for financial goals, and the last two are for my personal and health goals. This one was really simple to set up, so let's continue on to my content planner. This spread is where I keep track of my videos for YouTube. In the past I did a similar table for each month, but it didn't work because some videos take more time to do and edit, so sometimes they would pass from a month to another. So in the beginning of the year I did this exact same layout and I like it so much more. The empty section right below the title is for loose ideas for videos, so basically none of the regular ones. My regular videos are my bullet journal setups, my mom's bullet journal, and my reading journal. So anything that's outside of that goes in here to do in the future, like my bullet journal flip-throughs and sometimes sponsorship videos. On the table, from left to right, I have the video title or idea, then if it's recorded already, if it's edited, voiceover, and published. So like this I can keep track of the progress of each video. I had to keep this table pretty much empty and ready to use, so I didn't have that much space to decorate. I just put a little bit of washi tape between the section above and the table, and on the bottom of the table on the right page I decorated a little bit more. Next is again a similar spread to this one, so let's jump on to the decorating part. This spread is my waiting on. This is to keep track of my packages, so when I order something I write on the table the item, the day that was sent off to me, and the day that was delivered, so when I'm buying from a new place I can see in the future how much time it took. I also did a new column that's for brand, so basically if it's a package from a collaboration with a brand, I can keep track of that, and if something occurs on the way, I can contact the brand. This next spread is all about health, so on the left side we have my period tracker. This is where I can keep track of my menstrual cycle and of any symptoms like back or stomach ache, sometimes acne, or even my appetite. This page is going to have the title on the side because I need vertical space to put every day for the next 6 months. So basically I put a column full of dots and each dot corresponds to a day. And usually I would do a small section above the title for the key, so I make a little mark for all the symptoms and such, but I already know all of them, so I don't really need it, and I'm going to use that little space to put some decoration. I numbered each dot on the left side of the page, and above each column I put the initial for the next 6 months, and then we can decorate. So for the right page, we have my weight loss tracker. As I mentioned on a previous video, I'm going to the gym and making a diet for my health because I have problems with cholesterol and also because I have diabetes on my family. So I want to try and be as healthy as I can. So I've been seeing a nutritionist to help me with that. And that's where this table comes in. I go to an appointment on a monthly basis and she always measures me and see my weight and all of that, so I want to keep track of that to see my progress. This is something that I had to do separately on my previous bullet journal from January to June because I didn't have an empty spread to do this, so I decided to do one in this one. The column on the left is from top to bottom. Nutritionist, that's where I'm going to write the day that I went. Then we have my fat mass and my muscular mass also in percentage. Then my measurements for my waist, my abdomen, my glutes, and then my period, to know if I was measured during my period or not, because that also affects the measurements and the weight. The little frame on the bottom is to write at the end of the year the weight that I started with and the weight that I have in December, just to compare the two and see the progress that I make in a year. Let's move on to the next spread. That's a mix of things. On the top of the left page, we have my wish list. So anything that I want at some point, I can write in here. This is useful because sometimes before my birthday, that's on October, my family and friends ask me what I want, so I can tell them what's on this spread, or of course if it's something pricey that I want to buy for myself, I can give them an option. This is also something that I like to make because sometimes I write something in here and the next month I go check it out and I no longer really want that. And if I still do, I can keep that in here. So I don't fall on that trap of seeing and immediately buying. And below that we have my social tracker. This is something that doesn't matter to a lot of people, but I'm trying to start uploading again on my Instagram and TikTok accounts. I kinda stopped doing that because the algorithm pisses me off. I don't have that much reach, but as I mentioned before, I want to open my online store in 2026, so I have to try and build an audience there as well. I gave priority to YouTube because you guys are awesome and I really appreciate all of you. And I really love doing long form content. And on the contrary, I hate doing short form content, but I really have to try. So in this little table, I can see my growth during this half of the year. Of course, my schedule on YouTube is not going to change because I'm going to always prioritize my YouTube channel and these videos, but for marketing, Instagram and TikTok are the most useful, so I guess I have to try again. The page on the right is pretty self-explanatory. This is a space to write my ideas for gifts to give to other people. I was debating on making a table or some sections for each person, but I always have a bunch of ideas, so I would always need more space. So in the end, I decided that I would leave this empty and write the name of the person and the ideas as I go through the birthdays, because for Christmas I like to do a separate page for that. We are reaching the end and we have two more spreads that are going to be the same but with different decorations. So here is where I'll put my Polaroids. I don't have an Instax camera, but I have the Instax mini printer, so I always at the end of each month I go through my camera roll on my phone and I choose a moment that defines that month or just an event or something random like a game or something like that. This is so much fun because I get to relive the past month every time I'm searching for a picture. And yes, this makes the journal a little more thicker, but it's just two spreads, so that's completely fine. I titled this spread This Year because that's the whole point. These are the moments that were part of this year. And I made the same spreads on my previous bullet journal that has the Polaroids from January to June and also two bonus. And these spreads in this one are going to be from July to December and also two bonus because I had space for those Polaroids and sometimes I can decide on a picture, so I have two left. As I said, this next spread is going to be the same, but the decorations are mirrored, because even though they are the same and layout is mostly identical, I still wanted to give the feel that this was a whole new spread, and the only thing that I had to do was putting the decorations on opposite sides and changing the layout of the Polaroids. It's like these spreads are sisters but not twins, if that makes sense. Okay, so now I'm going to leave an empty spread before I do my July setup because in the future I may need that spread for something. Yes, I learn with my mistakes. And before the flip through, I'm going to my name page to decorate it. I left that to the end because, as I was correctly guessing, I used all of my blue branches except for one. And I wanted to make sure that I had enough stickers for the whole setup before I did my name page, because that's not so important for me. I literally never flipped to the name page, so if I needed to leave it blank, I wouldn't mind. but I still had that branch and little cut-offs of those stickers and some ephemera, so I could play around with them in here. This is just for fun, I'm going with the flow and not really thinking where I'm putting things. So that's why this collage is more on the bottom of the page and not so centered with the name, but I'm putting a little leaves on top of the arch to balance things out at least a little bit. This page was also an excuse to use the last stickers in my 2 blue sticker sheets. If I use at least more than half of a sticker sheet, I try to find a way to use all of them because I just don't want to keep an half-used sticker sheet in my collection because I'm most likely to never use them again. I only keep the ones that I can see myself use in the future or if I just use some of them. I don't really have that sticker anxiety, I literally prefer to use them over keeping them just there. And now it's time for the final flip through. I hope you guys enjoyed it as always. If you did, give a like, subscribe and ring the bell to receive a notification every time I post a video. Also, if you made it till the end, comment down below a little blue heart emoji to let me know. I was mentally exhausted after doing such a long setup, but I'm really proud of it. It came up more maximalist than I was thinking, but I really like it. Next week, I'm hoping that I will upload 2 videos, one on Tuesday and the other on Friday, but I don't make any promises because life happens. But stick around to find out. I hope you have an amazing day or night and that you are prepared for the next half of 2025, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!